right, thanks again for staying with us on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television. Yesterday, President Muhammadu Buhari gave an order that all those who are aspiring for one position or the other should resign immediately. And following that order, we have on good authority that at least about 3 ministers have already thrown in the towel, talking about the likes of the Minister of State for Education, Wanjuba, and then the Niger Delta Minister, talking about Godswill Akpabio, and several others are also waiting to do exactly the same thing. But someone said, well, because of the Court of Appeal ruling on Section 84 of the Electoral Act may have also influenced the President's decision. We've got here a crack team of panelists to help us make sense of this conversation. Let me thank very especially Comrade Roy Oribabo. Thank you for joining us, Comrade.
Thank you for having me.
Barrister St. Michael Egwalge is a public affairs commentator and also a civil society activist. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here again.
Osage Runuse is a public affairs commentator and is also a business analyst. Thank you for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's get started. Then on the side we have former President Jonathan making a U-turn on taking over the mantle of leadership from President Muhammadu Buhari. How true that is, some of the things we're going to look at. Okay, let's look at this issue of resignation has been on for a while, and we've heard some ministers say, look, they are not resigning. The constitutional provision or the provisions by the Electoral Act, isn't it express enough for any right-thinking person to know what to do at moments like this? Does it have to be something we need to wait for Mr. President to give an order before we take action? Let me begin with you, Sagi.
Let me talk about the fact that that is where you see the Nigeria factor. When you see a group of people, so to speak, that are desperate for something. Our experience over the years have shown or seen that it is always a case where when some cabals, in quotes, need something, they have a way of challenging the system with a view or intention of trying to circumvent the law or make it become favorable to them. The issue of Section 84 has been on the public domain for some time, and the President's proclamation, even though some have said it's coming late, but we're happy that at last he has had to speak up.
Yeah.
You know, because no matter where you look at it from, it's not making sense. You know, I've been privileged to listen to different discourse on this issue. There are even lawyers that have argued for. There are some that have argued against. But let's look at it on the ground of morality, justice, from the sense and the eyes of equity. You are a political appointee with all the powers, the benefits, all the special, favors, and let's talk about the money at your disposal. You want to retain such offices to still go for an elective position. By all standard, we start painting our current democracy in a very negative light. It becomes like a mockery, or it becomes laughable before the global community. Because if I wield power as a political appointee, there are a lot of things that have happened over that period of time. In our Nigeria situation, if you become a minister, so to speak, for example, automatically you already have a lot of people that will dance to your tune. Largely because of the level of poverty, you become responsible for the survival of many who may not really have their own clear-cut view on issues. Now that alone is an advantage. Then think about the advantage of the fact that you have power. There are things you could influence because you are a sitting minister.
Yeah.
Think about the fact that you also have this money. Money is an issue in the Nigeria politics today. Being a political appointee, you are privileged to have different sources of income, either legal or illegal. There's a way you mop up resources.
Yeah.
Then you still want to sit in that position of advantage and determine your next fate. You know, for me, it has been a very laughable decision, not until the recent statement by Mr. President. Okay. I think it's laudable, and I think the minister should do the needful.
All right, right, we just have, when you run through, see some of those who will be affected by this latest development as it relates to their continuous stay in the Federal Executive Council. Several ministers. I mean, are you bothered by the fact that we have to get to this point to make these guys take this decision or respond to this decision, even though the Constitution expressly states this?
To me, I am really not on the same page with what has been happening in this country. The way and people take that Section 84 very serious. You know, to me, it's a disservice to those that have been appointed. You recall, you agree with me that as an incumbent or an elected person in a position, you retain your office and you are contesting for second tenure. And you are telling somebody you are appointed that he should go. My brother, I can't imagine what is going on. An appointee have to go. That you that have the real power will remain. What kind of society are we building for ourselves? What is good for Amechi is also good for Lawal. What is good for Osinbajo is also good for Amechi. These are the issues I'm bothered about. Why will you tell an appointee to go? What the phrase does an appointee control? What kind of power does it really have? It's an appointee. All ministers are subject to the dictates of the president. I hope you know that. Okay. Therefore, why are you not chasing them away? And why the vice president that was elected is also contesting, he's maintaining that position, and that he's even directly involved in terms of resources, allocation of resources. He has such power, and he's in the office. You are telling the man to remain, while those that were just merely appointed, they should go. This is double standard in Nigeria, and I am not in total support of this arrangement. We can do better than this as a people. We have to go back. That's the reason why I supported the action of the High Court, that they were right. Even the position of the Appeal Court now, I'm also fortunate. I want the matter to get to Supreme Court. They must look at it. Or we need to also work on our constitution as an incumbent. You cannot be contesting and retain office and telling the appointee to go back. What kind of society? Where does that happen? Where are we heading to?
All right.
If Osinbajo can remain in position, Amechi can also remain because they are contesting for the same position. Unless there is a deliberate attempt to frustrate those persons who are appointed, who want to aspire. Is it a crime as an appointee to aspire how you want to go for that? That those who were elected will be there. People like the senior president, because they are elected, they can remain in the office and be campaigning and be contesting for position. Why? Because Amechi was also appointed, he cannot go. Akpabio cannot go. It's not done anywhere. I don't know where we are heading to. All these things based to selfless. They are being selfish. And that selfish tendency and propensity, we must resist it in this country if we must go for it.
Barrister Egwage, let's get your legal perspectives on this, particularly with what has happened to Clause 84 of the Electoral Act. Are your views different from what Roy has expressed?
Quite different. I understand the sentiment of my colleague, my comrade friend. He is speaking from the angle of the less ferendi. We have the less latar and the less ferendi. The law as it is and the law as it ought to be. The law as it is today is that both the Constitution, which is the faucet origo of the land, as well as Section 84, sub 12 of the Electoral Act, forbid, prohibit, and exclude certain persons from vying, for a certain office where they are holding a public office. However, the law says if you must aspire, you have to, throw in the toy
by resigning from the extant office you are holding. For example, the most embarrassing of all the aspirations had been that of, Emefiele, who is the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, and by virtue of that office, he is the chairman, Bankers Committee of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And Central Bank of Nigeria is the warehouse where all sensitive electoral, materials are kept. By virtue of his ambition in itself, he is, compromising, the upcoming election. You cannot be a judge in your own case. It's a common principle. Nemo that, Nemo Judas in Kosaswa. You can't be a judge in your own case. You are aspiring. You are an aspirant. You want to become the president. Whereas you are the governor of Central Bank, who is going to be housing and going to be keeping, sensitive, electoral materials. By virtue of, occupying that office, that election has already been rigged. It has been rigged. Not minding the fact that his ambition is against common sense. It violates, it poo-poo on our common sense, on our cerebral intellectuality as individuals. It compromises, the financial integrity of our banks. Mr. Sonny Duke, are you aware that the governor of Central Bank of this country is a valid card-carrying member of APC? What happens if one of the chairman or the managing director of a bank, let's say First Bank, is a member of PDP? What will happen to him?
He'll be sacked.
He's finished. He's finished. So the ambition of Emefiele violates common sense. It violates the laws of the land. It's against equity and justice as well as fairness. However, I place the blame at the doorstep of Mr. President, whose body language encouraged them all. All this while, the president has been silent. There have been palpable silence emanating from the corridors of power, from Aso Rock. Not until he got information that the Court of Appeal was to overturn, the decision from Abia State High Court. That was when he now quickly informed Lai Mohammed to go and inform the public that he has issued a proclamation and order asking all political appointees except the vice president to throw in the towel, to resign and face their political aspirations.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why the vice president was left out of the sledgehammer is because he is an elected officer. His office is tied to a term by the constitution, which is the first origo of the land, except he suffers from certain legal disabilities as enumerated in the constitution. You cannot ask him to leave the office. Whereas, as a political appointee, you were appointed, based subject to the convenience, the happiness, and the enjoyment of the appointer. If the appointer wake up from the wrong side of the bed today and look at the face of Osagie and say, why are you this dark? You are too dark for my liking.
Leave the office.
So be it. You leave the office. That's it.
So,
you
want to answer? I was going to add.
There are issues.
Yes.
I need to quickly correct an impression.
Is it correct or make your own impression?
No, because he is tying it, reducing the whole matter to Emefiele.
No.
I don't use it
as a case study.
My position, the subject matter is I'm maintaining my stand that if Emefiele being the governor of Central Bank is different from political appointee, because his position have a certain.
Should that position show partisanship? Like
no, that is who we are.
Yeah.
That is who we are as a people. Just because we don't know as a people, many things are going wrong. The present administration have reduced the level of government and governance. It's now free for all. But you also agree with me, if you go to the US and find out the president who is managed is a Republican, and then a Democrat is there and presiding over their bank. Why am I giving them? Because those persons, they believe in policy. These are disciplined persons who they can be the same party. I'll tell you, America first. In Nigeria, nobody.
In line with the Constitution.
Yes,
in line with the Constitution. Yeah.
But the issue of Emefiele is an extraordinary issue. We have never seen this kind of situation. It's just that's the reason. If there's not taking the EFCC can also be a party. The chief justice of Nigeria can also be a member of the party. It's an extraordinary. Therefore, it is not an issue. We don't need Buhari intervention on it. Or we the people of Nigeria need to speak out.
Okay, all right.
You see, I was going to say that this is the reason why I said internationally we are not making sense. And this is why we need to begin to arrest this situation. Like he said, Emefiele issue is a shocker. Because imagine when people that hold sensitive positions begin to be partisan. Even though prior to this time, we are suspected that there are hidden partisan play among them. But for you to not come out to the open, it also shows that this government has given so much free hand for people to misbehave and do whatever they want to do. And it is important going forward that the president of this country must be more proactive, must be more quick to arrest situations like this, because it does not portend well for our developing democracy. And besides, just for example, I don't know if you have noticed of recent that the record has it that this is the highest interest that we have both in our own state and nationally in different elective positions.
Never before seen.
Look at 100 million is becoming like 10,000 naira. Therefore, politicians, I mean, one would have thought ordinarily that money is above the rich. But look at the number of persons that are trooping in that wants to be president. Look at our own state. The other day, the governor had to call the 162 candidature. So what's going on? Aspirants, sorry. So what's going on? So it shows that we are lost in it. There's so much impunity, and we need to speak out like what he has said and begin to question the system. We can't just allow things to begin to run the way they are. Maybe there need to be more laws to protect or to determine who becomes an aspirant. Possibly, because in the days to come, you may have 1,000 persons want to contest for the seat of the presidency. And, so in the international community, we are not seen as serious people. We are just seen as people that are making noise and misbehaving. So we must develop democracy and begin to arrest all of these lapses.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you just join us, it's still TMI, Thursday. We're just looking at some of the issues that are on the front burner in the build-up to the 2023 election, particularly on the status of ministers. But before now, in some states, we've had some members of State Executive Council resign en masse just to pursue their political career in line with the Constitution. I heard Roy say things like, well, what is good for Oshiba and Joy is also good for Amici. But we're also aware that for civil servants, this law is already operational, where if you're a civil servant and you have any political ambition, you're supposed to resign, I think about 3 months or thereabout, before you can go ahead and pursue your political aspirations. And several of them have been doing that. So why are the appointed personalities finding it difficult to do that? In fact, I read yesterday one of the ministers saying that, yes, Mr. President has given an order, but he needs to be clarified. I don't know if you read that story.
Yes,
yes, that he needs to be clarified.
Yes,
so I don't know what that clarification miss. Maybe Roy would be in a better position to talk to us about that. But let me get Mr. Vying in. The appeal court judgment or order seems to have changed this whole parade, or charade, let me put it that way, so to speak. You want to give us some more on that?
You see, the law has always been in place, for civil servants and public servants, simpliciter, that if they are aspiring for any office, they have to resign. What the new law, Section 84, sub 12 did was to extend it further, so as to cover the field, by way of extending it to all political appointees. Once you are a political appointee and you are interested and you wake up one morning and you are no longer satisfied with the office you are holding, because that's the implication. If Malami, as the minister, Justice, as well as it purpose as
minister,
attorney general, and the chief law officer of the land, with all the powers and paraphernalia attached to that office, you suddenly wake up and you say you now want to become a governor. The implication is that you are not satisfied with where you are now. You have to put that one aside so as to go and face your political ambition and aspiration. Yeah. It's as simple as that. Yeah. However, that is the ratio decidendi attached that incited or inspired the lawmaker to enact that law, so that when you are in office, you'll be mentally stable, emotionally balanced, and well concentrated on the job at hand. However, why they couldn't extend the law to cover elected officers is because their term is tied. Their office is tied to a term by the Constitution. If you enact a law that runs in conflicts with the provision of the law, Section 1 sub 1 of the Constitution says that that law will be null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. So, I think and I believe that the judgment coming, from the Court of Appeal is very well, very, very proper, and it came at the most timeous moments. Why do I say so? Irrespective of how a law was made, it doesn't matter. So long as the law was properly made and the right channel and procedure were followed, the National Assembly is the only arm of government clothed with the power, and that power is unfettered and unqualified to enact laws, and they are so do. So if you believe that the law enacted by the National Assembly, to which the president has already appended his imprimatur, you feel offended by that law, you go to court. But the first thing you do, first of all, step aside when you are challenging that law. But they didn't do that. What the Court of Appeal has said is very simple, that the law that they are seeking to set aside was properly made by the arm charged
with the responsibility
to so do. That's one. Then two, he said that the people that even took the matter to court lack local standard. They don't have the basis to go to court. And the matter in itself does not disclose any course of action. Once that is established, such a case will be thrown into the dustbin of irrelevance where it belongs. That's exactly what has happened.
All right.
So I don't understand the quarter of.
Roy has been. I mean, we wanted to say something, but if you have, because I'm aware in some cases you have some people who bought 2 forms. If this one not enter, this one go enter. some bought forms as presidential aspirants. They got form as governorship. And maybe senator. So if this one not draw, this one we're playing coupon with the election of Nigeria. All right, let's get you in here. You have the intention to contest for a particular office. You're already appointed. I mean, morally speaking, isn't it right? You leave that office and then focus on your political aspiration. There are 1,001 more Nigerians who can occupy that office perhaps do better than you're doing.
No, if constitutionally you are right.
Okay.
Because that is the law. And then that go back to question the source of the law. Who are those who formulate the law? You know, when the theory of the society was formulated by Thomas Hall, you know, life is so life. I said, how do we manage society? Law was not there, not an issue. He said, no, for the society to work well, we need law. Yeah. That was what gave birth to law. You can have law, constitution, that does not make it to be that you are in order. I remember my great sociology and American sociology, who said, Rodney Polycarp, who said that it is immoral to be moral in an immoral society. Does that make it to be right? If all of us here decided to say it's a law we have given to ourselves, we want to go mad, does that mean that we are good? We must look at the intention of those laws. The constitution is right. That is my position. But when you look at those who formulated the theory of the constitution, who mobilized for that constitution, they were being selfish. You are telling me an incumbent governor can remain in the office to contest, but you are telling me a commissioner can also remain that he appointed. But that is double standard.
So when the incumbent governor, for example, resigns to go and contest, what happens to the state? Is a question. What happened? Like, for example, President Muhammadu Buhari was aspiring for second tenure.
Yes.
At that point in time, he resigned. So what happens to the country?
Without President Muhammadu Buhari, if something happened to him,
no, I'm asking the question. What happens to him?
I don't want to run again.
He said, what happens to him?
There's a provision in the constitution, somebody will step into.
Yes.
That. You understand?
No, we shouldn't have anybody stepping in.
These are
we shouldn't have anybody stepping in.
These are the reason
they can never be vacuum.
That's the reason why.
The point I'm telling you. They can't be a vacuum.
Yes,
but when you remove appointees, they can't be vacuum because
there can be critical committee.
That is why yours sincerely is faulting the constitution. If we have said a situation that the president or an incumbent governor will be contesting, the constitution will also make provision.
Okay.
Because they will not give room for that lacuna. And that is the point I'm raising. That it is supposed to be, as an incumbent president or a governor, you are aspiring for a second tenure. But brother, what is wrong for you to step aside for 3 months? You know, the way the society is structured, there's no vacuum anywhere. Somebody must step in.
Okay.
You know, I am still maintaining my standard. We are telling the serving minister because they are mere appointee, they can go. While those who are elected need to remain. As far as concerned, it's a political taboo. It's a mere wickedness. You know, people are just exhibiting high level of greed that we are in charge. Nigeria's constitution, we need to restructure ourselves again. We need to get it right. I was hoping this is an opportunity for we to get it right. Don't be carried away with the sentiment that as a serving minister, because you are campaigning, you have abandoned your job. What about the incumbent governor? Is he not campaigning? The incumbent president, is he not campaigning? Have they abandoned their job? What is good for Sonny Duke is good for Roy. That is my position.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the names of ministers that are on their way out of the Federal Executive Council by virtue of the order given by Mr. President yesterday, also following the Court of Appeal ruling on Clause 84 of the Electoral Act. We've got very many of them. Minister of Justice, Attorney General, and Minister of Justice of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, SAN. We understand he's aspiring to be governor of his own state, talking about Kebbi State. And one story that came forth strongly about him was the SUVs that he gave, he allegedly gave to some his supporters in that state. And questions have been asked. People have even asked, said that, well, that matter needs to be looked into critically by the respective anti-corruption agency. But he came out to say, look, his friends donated those cars. So if his friend donated those cars, what are you going to do about that? That's a big question. Interesting. And then we also have Chris Ngige. Chris Ngige. I mean, the labor unions, this is one guy the labor unions will never be with, at least for now. Call it ASU, call it TUC, NLC, and the rest of them. Chris Ngige is the Minister of Labor and Productivity. Yeah, he's Minister of Labor and Employment. He also has some political ambition, but apart from all of that ones, he's the only person who has come out to say that in spite of the order given, in spite of the appeal court ruling on clause 84, in spite of what the Constitution says, he wants further clarification from President on asking them to resign. All right? So we'll leave that at that. Then, of course, let's see other ministers. You have the Minister of Transportation talking about Rotimi Amechi, who also has presentation ambition. And then Godswill Akpabio, Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. Interestingly, the staffers of the ministry are saying that, look, we're not aware the minister has resigned. So we still need to dig more on that one. And then we've got Ogbonaya Ono, Science and Technology and Innovation Minister. And then Emeka Uwajuba, who is the Minister of State for Education. In fact, one of the earliest people to get a phone for 100 million naira. I saw the receipt. I saw it online. Well, I couldn't really verify or authenticate it independently, but the receipt was trending online. The 100 million receipt he paid for the expression of interest and nomination. Then you've got Timi Silva, relatively quiet on this whole matter, but he's also there. And then Petroleum Minister, Minister of Petroleum for State, Petroleum Minister for State from Bayelsa State, former Governor of Bayelsa State, as a matter of fact. That's Timi Silva. And then we've got Uche Oga, who is the Minister of State, Mines and State Development. And then we have a very strong women politician, thing from Plateau State, Pauline Talon, Minister of Women Affairs. So far so good. These are the numbers. Now, one thing that is very clear or very striking about this build up to the 2023 election is the huge number of aspirants. What's the meaning of this? What does this portend for our polity? Let me get you started on this. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, you see, for me, is another show that the society, seems to be tinting towards a certain direction. You'll notice today that with the current happenings in the political sector, an average professional, in any professions of endeavor, seems to have lost their sanity in their operations. Now, what I mean by that is everybody seems to be eyeing politics, either as an elected officer or even an appointee. Now, the question is why? Simply because when you make a certain office become so juicy, you make people begin to think that that's that way out. Now, the political elite, the traditional institution, the religious leaders generally have not helped matter in this regard, because when you see a certain position that is now painted by the society, even sometimes, so to speak, the media too, as the yardstick for success, when you become a commissioner or you become a minister, it seems as if, oh, the whole village have succeeded, you've succeeded. Nobody cares about the character quotient. It's about the portfolio that you now occupy. Right. Now, I'm talking about why it seems like everybody wants to be a politician now. It's not the in thing. Every Duke and Harry can just rise up and say, I want to contest for House of Assembly and wherever. Not really, because now, constitutionally speaking, if you meet up to the criterion, you have the right as a citizen of this country. Yeah. But the abnormality is because of the dysfunctionality or the lapses that we see in the political arena. When the public observe and view things, decisions are made, decisions are formed. Like, for example, it has been seen that as political office holder, you can get away with anything. You know, even if you became fraud, as long as you decamp to the party in power, your sins can be forgiven. You know, it's so cheap to be a politician. It's so cheap to want to contest these days. It's so cheap to want to hold political offices because it is not perceived societally as that is the only area where you have the national cake. I mean, you can take a look at what is happening with the minimum wage saga. Up to date, some states are still debating the 30,000 naira. You know, up to date, ASU is still on strike. You know, and every one of these issues are money related. Yeah. But when you see the political office holders, they can't strike because of salary. Their salary, you can't even think it. Their salaries are consistent. The office is so juicy. They have security. They have money. They have power. They have dominance in almost every phase of the society. They can put a car across and you get a job somewhere. Now, when the society sees that power, influence, success seems to have been taken to one direction, there's a tendency for everybody to start running towards that direction. That's my take. Okay. It's not about being qualified or being interested. It's not about having something to present. It's about the fact that politics is now the destination. Okay. That's the way to make it. That's the way to become something. And for me, that's sad, really. Okay.
All right, those affected by the recent directive, you have the likes of course, cabinet members, even ambassadors, heads of government agencies, parastatals, and departments with intentions to run for office. Then that seems to be adding to the number of people that are aspiring for position. What's your take on this?
Well, but to me, I'm not bothered about the numbers of persons aspiring. It's natural. People, Nigeria politics is evolving. We are just around 25, below 25 years in this our democracy. The people need to aspire because one, we cannot be sitting down here every day. We are lamenting as if Nigeria is not the headquarters of lamentation. The reason is that because we believe that things are not being done well. And the people are aspiring. We must be able to let people aspire. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. I have no problem with people who are mobilizing, who are aspiring, want to go. Across the globe, even in the U.S., over 1,000 personalities contested the U.S. presidency the other day. Most of the names were not mentioned. In Kenya now, go to Kenya, they are doing election. Over 100 and something are contesting president in Kenya. 46 have just been screened to contest president in Kenya. You know, it's natural for men to aspire. There's nothing wrong about that. Especially now that we are suffering from a leadership deficiency in this country. Everybody needs to aspire. And that's the reason why I also said it's also very surprised at this time that people have not considered it was to even mobilize and buy for me. You know, are
you interested?
Once I have people come mobilize me and say, "Roy, need a phone and go out." You know, we must get it out because those who really have the idea to reshaping and refocus this country don't have the resources to buy the phone. Hence, people can mobilize around it. Don't be bothered about the money involved. As far as I'm even concerned, I was even very surprised that the money is just a mere 100 million naira.
Okay.
You know,
a mere 100 million naira.
Yes, I call it a mere because one Nigeria is a corrupt society.
Okay.
As a corrupt society, anything goes. Therefore, you must get it right. And that's the reason why I'm saying when you say bring 1 million, how much is a take-home pay of a president for 1 year? Can put everything together, it's not up to 25 million. In 4 years, the president will not be able to get 50 million as a salary. Therefore, now, what kind of investment is that? It's a reflection that we are corrupt, the society is corrupt, the government is corrupt, the people are corrupt. Therefore, we are talking about 100 million in corrupt society, a society that is not regulated. I'm surprised. I'm saying what because I expect that money to be in billions or in trillions. Because we let us face it. For Nigeria is a corrupt society. As it's corrupt, it's not regulated. That's the reason why once you are elected, automatically you are not a bourgeois.
Okay.
In terms of resources, you lack control. Okay. Therefore, for people to aspire to say 100 million to me is something I'm not seeing comfortable.
Okay. Let me bring Barrister St. Michael Egwagi. But St. Michael, we've seen this inconsistency on the part of former President Goodluck Jonathan about his political aspirations. First, we heard some youths mobilized to engage him on it, and it wasn't really forthcoming on whether he was going to be or not. Then the last time we heard was that Mietiala got presidential nomination for him, and then the news that followed was that it was an insult for anybody or group of persons to come together and buy for if he wants to, it will make it public. And then just today now, we're hearing that there's a U-turn. And this U-turn has far-reaching implications, which have been, expressed, over how many months ago, that there are alignments and realignment to ensure that this is what happens so that power will return to the north, as it were. Let's get your perspectives on this.
Well, good luck, Ebele Jonathan is one personality I respect so much because of the role he played in 2019, which seriously helped in averting
2015. Okay.
2015.
Yeah.
I think it was 2015 or 2019.
2015. Yeah.
Which seriously helped us, from a serious political, disaster. The mere phone call he made, was enough to put an end, to all the rumors, all the predictions, and all the stories and the visions or dream emanating from different quarters, including the international society. At a time, we were made to understand that CIA had it on good authority that Nigeria may not survive in 2015.
Yeah.
But for Jonathan, we have survived it. We are still a nation today. We are still a republic, and we are still a country.
Yeah.
Be that as it may, personally, I am not comfortable with his political ambition as it is just now, for the following reasons. Number one, his ambition comes with certain, legal challenges and hurdles, that he has to cross. Listening to Mr. Femi Falana, ventilating and adumbrating on the subject matter, and also listening, to other senior advocates who spoke for and against. One thing was established, that there's a course of action. There is a legal issue that has to be resolved one way or the other by the courts. My question is, why put yourself, into a race that is already suffering from a legal, question mark? Is it that he has not seen it all? Is it that 5 years is not enough? Does he need another year, to reenact some of those things that escaped his memory while in office?
Yeah.
Number two, I'm not comfortable, realizing or even hearing it, whether as a rumor or otherwise, that a group of Fulani people are the ones who bought farm for him. It's not as if I have anything against Fulani people, but people say charity begins at home. If a masquerade has not been able, to demonstrate his dancing capacity and ability, he can go outside. The mere fact that it is Fulani people that are purchasing the form only help, to corroborate or accentuate or confirm or legitimize or legalize or confirm the rumor we are hearing that, the Fulani political hegemony are the one pushing him and sponsoring him.
Okay.
Knowing fully well that they can't do more than 4 years. They want him to go, occupy the office, so that power can quickly return back to them after 4 years. If that is the position, I think this ambition is only driven by greed and self-interest rather than the collective interest of all of us in the startup part.
All right. Let's get your views on this. Yeah.
Jonathan contesting.
Yes.
It's very unfortunate.
What makes it unfortunate? He has the right to contest.
It's very unfortunate. The reason why I said it's very unfortunate,
yes.
Jonathan further confirmed to me who we are as a people. Jonathan is in Nigeria. I'm in Nigeria. Therefore, that tendency for we not to be reliable is there. 48 hours ago, he spoke another language today, another language. You can see, I think Jonathan is a man I vigorously work against in 2015. And I believe this time I'm going to intensify my action to work against him again. Without apology, because he was not good in 2015. That is where we are. And we cannot reinforce Jonathan again. Otherwise, we are uplifting another failure.
So if you say he was not good in
he was not good to me.
So why is he not the Messiah today?
He cannot be a Messiah because he's...
Why is he not a political Messiah today?
He's not a Messiah. He's just been driven by what I regard as a political rapaciousness. You know, that is the force controlling him.
Right.
He does not have anything to offer Nigeria. We have tried Jonathan for about 5 years. He did not offer anything. What is he bringing new? What's Jonathan bringing new? Jonathan, all Satanas will not speak out. Jonathan wants to change Satanas. If Jonathan, as he said, the Northern oligarchy believe in him and give him 4 years slot, he should change him.
Let me take a final word from you on this, as we call it.
Let me say that from our own point of view, Jonathan was not a total failure. There's no perfect government anyway. Neither are there perfect individuals. You know, but going forward, the strength, the will, the attitude with which he was able to resist pressure, the pressure of cowards and sycophants, 2015, one would have expected him to put on that same strength. You know, I had expected the former president to remain dignified, like he's currently perceived in the international community. I don't think Jonathan is what we need again in 2023. I have nothing against, I know he had his flaw as a president, you know, but at least what you call his flaw is the best today that we are celebrating. That is the reason why different political parties seem to be shopping for him. But the point is, he has retired, he should go home, he should maintain his role. No, he has a right. His time is over. We need to give room for others.
Yeah, let's call it a wrap here. And thank you guys for the views expressed. During Jonathan's tenure, can recall very vividly the price of a bag of rice, recall the Naira-dollar exchange rate, and so many other lofty things. But in any case, if he was seen as someone who didn't have the capacity to deliver in 2015, and in 2022, he is being shopped for as a presidential aspirant, perhaps a consensus presidential candidate. It means that the present administration has admitted total failure. Yes. Because if you said the man wasn't good enough, and then you kicked him out, and then you are going back to him.
Now you are with us. Now you are with us. Now you are with us.
So it means it's an admittance of failure.
It's an admission of failure.
But be that as it may, he has his inalienable right to contest as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nobody can take the right away from him. But as the events unfold, evolve, we'll keep you updated with our views and opinions and in-depth analysis. It's the TMI. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with you in a moment. Don't go away.